What is up, everybody? How are you guys doing today? What is it? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Middle of the week. Hopefully you guys have had a good week so far. You know, we're almost there. We're halfway there. I think you can consider we're a little bit over halfway there because for most of us, the workday's done. Technically, part of my workday's done, and the other part of my workday just started. Well, actually, I've been prepping for the show for a while, so it's been going for a minute. But welcome to another episode of the Black Line Brief. I am your host, Matthew McKim, and we got a good show for you guys today. So as we get in and we get settled, please do me a favor and smash that like, click that like, hit that like. And if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe. It is how you can help support this channel. It's also how you can stay notified. Well, actually, once you hit subscribe, then you got to hit that little bell and hit the notification to all so that you get notified when we go live. And I think it'll also notify you when I post videos, but I only really do lives. I am thinking about doing a couple pre-recorded videos, which would be like separate content. But for now, just the lives, every day. Okay. Got to keep it going. Well, thank you guys so much for being here today. We're going to be going over. So today, let's see how to frame this. I think I'm pretty positive, but it is largely speculation. However, the timeline itself, it's not speculation. And you guys can decide whether you think that the timeline that we'll look at has any relevance on my conclusion or effect on my conclusion, which is that the last year of Charlie Kirk's life, starting in May, so on May 2nd, 2025, Charlie sent Bibi a letter. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I'll repost the whole letter on my X so you guys can read it individually. It's also already up there, probably somewhere else. If you just Google, or if you go to John Mappin on his X, he's the one that has it. I'm sure other people have it as well. I suggest reading the whole letter. It's 7 pages. But I got a couple different breakdowns through ChatGPT. I made sure to do it like 3 different times to make sure chat didn't leave anything out, and compare and contrast with my reading of it to make sure that it had all the important points. And we are going to go over it, not the entire, I'm not going to read word for word the 7-page letter. However, I do recommend, if you guys care about Charlie Kirk in this investigation and understanding some context surrounding, I think, in my opinion, what played a huge role in setting off a certain chain of events, okay? Because it seems that Bibi took the letter to heart. He took it seriously because never before had Bibi gone on an American circuit podcast tour where he came to the U.S. and to these individual American podcasters, to them, and went on their show. He did have Lex Friedman on, or he went on Lex Friedman's podcast in 2024, but Lex flew out to Philly to meet Bibi for that. Okay. And so largely in the letter, Charlie is it's kind of what John Mappin explained in his interview with Tucker Carlson. However, there's so much more there. And in my opinion, this was Charlie's last ditch effort to personally help Bibi and Philly change their approach, their tactics, and the machine that they used to use, and morph into new, more modern, online propaganda warfare in a way. There's no real easy way to say that, but Bibi took it so much to heart, but he didn't actually take everything to heart, because Charlie recommended that he find Philadelphian individuals to help shape the narrative for Philly in anything, whether that's like Gaza, Palestine, the war in Iran, or anything that you would need PR propaganda for. He felt that they needed Philadelphian voices to do that, and they needed a younger approach. Bibi seems to have taken that on himself. He doesn't seem like a good delegator, like he's just like a control megalomaniac, narcissistic control freak. So he's like, no one can do it better than me. I will go on the tour. It will be me. However, I think Charlie was telling him, like, people don't want to hear you, dude. People don't trust you, bro. Like, I think you missed the tone of the letter. Okay, I'm giving you some pointers on what to do. Nowhere in there did I say for you, Bibi Netanyahu, to do it. Not a good look. Not a good look, bro. Gen Z, the next generation, where you've lost the hold, the grip, the narrative. They don't like you, bro. You are everything that's wrong with Philly in their mind. So maybe you don't do it. But Bibi, Bibi being Bibi is like much like Trump. Like, I got it. I'll do it. The young people like me. They like me. No. So Bibi seeks out to go on a tour like never before. And it leads up into a couple different events. And we're going to go into it. Literally from May 2025 to September 2025, to me, it looks like a direct link, a causal relationship between each event, which gradually got more intense and intensified the situation around Charlie Kirk until the point where Bibi felt like he had no choice because Charlie wasn't going to do what he wanted to do. And then they took him out, in my opinion. And then shortly after that, let's look at the timeline, but let's hop over to Candace because she kind of nails this timeline down today. If you didn't watch her show, today was a good show to watch, I got to say. Okay. She revisited a lot of things. I don't know. I don't think she's watching my show. Maybe she is, but a lot of the things she said today, we've talked about here and pointed out multiple times. Even the whole, AI clip of Charlie appointing Erica as she'll do great. I appoint Erica Kirk as CEO. That they used, and I think that they strategically put Charlie in certain of situations, certain interviews, podcasts, speaking engagements where certain themes, certain words would come up naturally, and they would have a data bank of as many clips as they want to feed into this AI and make literally whatever clip they wanted to make. I just so believe that the first clip that they wanted to make was the most pertinent, that had to happen really quick shortly after, because they named Erica Kirk CEO within 72 hours or 48. And then she was within 72. And then she goes on the Megyn Kelly show, shortly after that, whether that be in October, November timeframe, and announces it for the first time that Charlie said this, right? So they needed that clip. They also, I agree with Candace, and we've said this before, they've pulled down, and we all knew this back in September, October timeframe. They pulled down a lot of Charlie's videos. And I do think also to feed into the algorithm or the AI that they needed to make, whatever future clips they wanted to make of Charlie. And to make sure that whatever clips they use for future videos, those portions would be cut, trimmed out of the original video so that we couldn't go back and look and go, that sounds exactly like what Charlie said here. You know what I mean? And we also know that they took down the Hawaii full campus event that he did with Candace Owens, you know? So, but anyways, we're going to let's listen to Candace, then we're going to hop over and look at a timeline. And it's going to be a good show. It's also going to tie into, sorry, there's a lot going on in my brain. Also, we're going to look at some things that JFK did and said, which I think for him kicked off a timeline, right? JFK took a very radical stance on a lot of things related to Philly. Okay. One of which being in 1954, which he never said after that. He realized how politically detrimental it was to him. But he never walked that statement back, right? And we'll get into it, but we're also going to look at the connections between JFK, how he turned on his stance on Philly, publicly and privately, actions he was taking, right? Once he became president with Philly, right? With FARA, with their nuclear program, with nukes, okay, with Palestine, 2-state, 1-state solution, okay, was it repatriation or repatriation? Having a lot of Palestinian migrants come back into Philly and have what is it called when they wanted to do it with here in the United States, where like when you pay them reparations, okay? That and many other things JFK said and did that I think, along with many other things, just like Charlie Kirk, it wasn't just the Philly thing. I think the Philly thing was one of the biggest, though, for both JFK and Charlie Kirk. But there were, I think, many, many people, many organizations, departments of, the military, foreign intel services that wanted both of these individuals gone. Okay. I just so happen to believe Philly seems to be the number one possible culprit in my mind that had the means, motive, and opportunity to do both, in my opinion. All right, let's get into it. We're going to hop over to Candace Owens.
All right, you guys, happy Wednesday. More importantly, happy 6 million subscribers. We did it. I'm so proud. I really am. Without a single dollar.
Let me hop after her opening right there.
We're going to start with Charlie Kirk's life in July in general, the period of undue stress that was being brought upon him by his friends and his allies. And I want to be clear, the stress that was being added to his life was because of the friend and the ally, Israel. Now, you may have forgotten this, so I'm going to remind you, but I told you guys many moons ago that back during July of 2025, when Bibi Netanyahu was making the rounds, doing a ton of American podcasts in general, he requested to do Charlie Kirk's show. He wanted to come on Charlie Kirk's show, and Charlie refused him. So what did Bibi do instead? Well, he kept up his schedule with podcasters. He did.
So here's the thing. I can't believe, well, okay, maybe I'm wrong. You guys tell me this, okay? But I can't believe that that Candace and others have missed this, right? The letter that he sends to Bibi goes out in May. May. What month is before June? May. So Bibi gets the letter, reads it, digests the letter, and then turns around and asks Charlie to come on his show. I can't help but think those things are heavily connected. So let's go. Let me see. Let me pull this up. Let me see which one is a more concise. All right, let's go here. Let's see if it's on the screen. Just my faces. All right, let's go. Is it this one? Oh my goodness. I don't know which one I added to the screen. Oh, I do. There it is. It's this one. All right. So that's the top. All right. So a full, clean summary of the letter, what the letter is. All right. All right. Cool. It's there. All right. The document is framed as a personal, strategic memo letter from Charlie Kirk to the Philadelphian Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. The central thesis: Philly is losing. Oops, that's a really big. Let's do this. Philly is losing the information war on social media and among other American. That's going to distract me. And among younger Americans. Oh, yeah, he's losing the information war on social media and among younger Americans. And most radically, must radically modernize its communications strategy to preserve long-term American support. The letter is not an anti-Philly, okay? It is strongly pro-Philadelphian, but deeply critical of Philly's media, PR, and online messaging operations, okay? The main themes of the letter: Philly is losing younger Americans, okay? Who is in the perfect place, ladies and gentlemen, that has already won the hearts, minds, respect, and trust of American conservative Republican Americans? Young. Charlie Kirk, TPUSA. Okay. Bibi doesn't strike me as the person that wants to start from scratch. He's behind the 8 ball already. Okay. He is, fourth quarter in the end zone with a little bit of time left on the clock, with no timeouts, goal line offense. Okay. He's not going to start at the very beginning. Like his strategy for the game wouldn't be like first quarter 0-0. All the clock is on the, all the time's on the clock. No. He understands, especially in May, right? The bombing of Fordo hasn't happened yet. The whole incident with him and Trump, with Charlie Kirk and Bibi kind of debating with one another for Trump's decision on what to do in Iran hadn't even happened yet. Okay. But Bibi knows that's coming. Bibi understands that's coming. And Bibi also understands probably Venezuela's coming, right? And he also understands that this Fordo thing is but an appetizer. Okay. It's but a prelude to the real main course that would be coming in the fall. And so Bibi's not, he understands he doesn't have time to create a whole new grassroots organization, PR machine, and start to just now gain the trust, respect, and win over the hearts and minds of Gen Z American conservative Christians here in America. Charlie has already positioned himself, and he has that network. Bibi's going to want to go straight to Charlie, especially because Charlie has been the most pro-Philadelphian, social media, person online with the platform and the audience and the reach to do so. He's going to go straight to Charlie and ask him, let's do it, man. I get the tone of your letter. Let's do it with you. Let me come on your show. And he goes, no. All right, let's continue. So let's see. Yeah, Israel is losing younger Americans. I just said the name. All right, hopefully the stream doesn't hurt my video. The author, who is Charlie. So Charlie repeatedly argues that younger Americans increasingly distrust Philly. Anti-Philly narratives dominate social media. College campuses, which Charlie goes to all the time, are overwhelmingly hostile to Philly. And even conservative MAGA circles are shifting. The letter cites Harvard, Harris polling, Pew polling, TikTok reach, social media trends, and campus experiences, which Charlie himself was in a unique position. Okay. And I go back and forth on I mean, what a strategy. What a smart strategy as a I mean, if Charlie, as smart as he was, yes, he would want to win the hearts and minds of the next generation, motivate them to become politically active and to vote, but to vote Republican, to vote in favor whichever way Turning Point and Charlie Kirk say. I think he also understood this is where, right? If you go back to the libertarian, early in 2012, when Baron Coleman talked about, what they realized the Dems did great. The Dems did great appealing to the youth and to college campuses, and predominantly college campuses is where young students became radicalized with left-leaning ideologies, right? And so that is the battleground for the future hearts and minds of America, college campuses, right? And if they're with their professors 80 to 90% of the time, and that's a lot, and the other faculty that are there, that's where a lot of this indoctrination, brainwashing, manipulation is happening. Charlie's realizing he's got to go there. That's where we got to go. Okay. That's also where you got to go to get data. That's where you got to go to understand. And in the beginning, a lot more people were coming up against than there were for Charlie and in support of Charlie. But as the years went on, the support crowd for Charlie and TPUSA got bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. And the opposing crowd got smaller, or at least it stayed off to the side, but it wasn't in Charlie's face like it was in the early days, right? But so getting onto college campuses to help shift the narrative, to help unbrainwash the youth of America, win back the hearts and souls of American youth, but also to gauge to what degree, to what percentage of the youth are on the left and on the right. Are they radical left? Are they dead center? Are they just right of center? Where are they? And he wanted to gain that. Data is the most valuable thing, you guys. In this day and age, the day and age of information, data is gold. Okay. And going to college campuses to find out where the youth are, and then to be able to go directly to them to help get them to the side where Charlie believed in his heart would save America, bring the youth back to Christ and to conservative values that would put America first and make America great again. It makes sense to me that Charlie saw that and why he sought that out and did that. Okay. All right, let's continue with the letter. So yeah, campus experiences. Charlie Kirk sees this as an existential long-term political problem. Okay. The information war is the core framework. The entire letter treats public opinion like warfare. Repeated phrases: information war, rapid response, fight back, narrative, campaign, pushback, hearts and minds. Yep. And Charlie Kirk believes Philly fights military effectively, but communicates poorly online, allowing opponents to define Philly publicly. The letter essentially says Philly wins kinetic war, but loses narrative war. And that is true, you guys. The letter does come across that. But here's the thing. In my opinion, I think Charlie was being extremely tactful and very strategic in his approach to Bibi. Because I think if Charlie told him directly what he really felt about October 7th, Gaza, Palestine, everything, it would have shut Bibi's eyes and ears off, and Bibi wouldn't have heard anything. Okay. So even though the letter does come across that Charlie's not really telling Bibi that Philly has done anything wrong in Gaza, in Palestine, in in Iraq and in all the things, 9/11, all like it does come across like Charlie's not really confronting Bibi on these things that we know Charlie did feel. He said them publicly and in other places and spaces, but that he was trying to tell Bibi what he needed to do propaganda wise, public relation wise, information narrative wise. But I don't think that's because Charlie was like an asset to Philly or Intel or to the administration. I think he was simply being very strategic and tactful in his approach to, I think, also not give up, his hand on where he really stood, like on everything. I think he already in May was feeling the pressure. And this letter was an approach to kind of put Bibi at bay, right? And like, hey, I'm on your side. But this is what I think needs to happen. And I think when you go read the letter, pay attention to that. You could come out looking at Charlie in a negative light. I didn't come out that way. So just keep in mind, I think that Charlie was being extremely strategic and tactful in the letter. All right. Let's see. I think this other breakdown, I'll just read these big bullet points at the top. I'm not going to read each individual thing. We'd be here forever, and that's pretty dry just looking at documents, unless that's something you guys are into. All right. So let's see. I already saw this was from the other breakdown that Philly is losing the information war on social media, younger Americans, including conservative MAGA. Yeah. All right. So here's the main themes. Philly is losing support among young Americans. Yes. Philly's messaging is weak and outdated. Yes, right? Their communication strategy. And let's see. Philly needs a rapid response media machine. Let's see if this is where he came up with the term. Here it is. Israel Truth Network. Okay, so bullet point 3, Philly needs a rapid response media team like the Trump administration had, and he needs people. See, it says here Trump media strategy. He needs people like Caroline Levitt and other people like that to be the head of Israel Truth Network. Right. This is Charlie's proposed name of the network. Right. And he imagined a central pro-Philadelphia media hub, website plus social media ecosystem, fact-checking center, news aggregation site, educational platform, viral clip distribution network. All right. Also, you guys, if you guys keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, in September, and I should add that in the timeline, the FARA filing for Clock Tower X, Havas Media Group, and what was the other one? We have Clock Tower X, Show Faith by Works, right? In the Salem Media Network. Everything that's proposed in those FARA filings is literally spelled out in this letter. Literally. It literally is. Like everything that the Foreign Ministry of Affairs for Philly ends up doing in these two different FARA filings, right? The Clock Tower X and the Show Faith by Works one are two sides of the same propaganda machine, all of which are strategic implementation bullet points and a plan, like the actual plan on how to carry out what Charlie said to do in this letter. Okay. I think that they didn't want to do it that way. I think they wanted to go through Charlie and they wanted to use TPUSA. I don't think they wanted to do it the way that they ended up having to do it. I think Philly, right, was planning and preparing for multiple contingencies at the same time, because all of this, the money and documentation and the filing, everything happened with the Clock Tower X and the Show Faith by Works on like September 18th, 8 days after the assassination. So they had to have had this already ready to go. But I think that's because in June, after the letter, he asked to go on to the Charlie Kirk show. Charlie said, no. I didn't say with me. No. The youth and Americans are going to see right through that, bro. they're going to see that you just pretty much bought me. And not only will you lose, then I'll lose, right? I don't think Bibi realized that. I think Bibi's not as smart as everyone thinks he is, right? Because he seconds that. He comes back. He circles back to that at the Hamptons meeting when he calls Charlie Kirk and says, look, man, I wanted to come on your show. You said no. I read your letter. I took it to heart. How about we do it together? I give you $150 million and we do everything you said in your plan. But instead of me creating an Israeli truth network, we use TPUSA. And Charlie said, no, I said no in June. I didn't want you on my show. Americans are going to see right through that. You'll lose. I'll lose. We'll all lose. Okay. That's why I wrote it like that in my letter. Keep your money. You got to do this on your own. You can do it on your own. Just go ahead and do it. Bibi didn't like that, right? Like, fool me once, whatever. Or, that's not the right analogy, but Charlie turned him down twice. Okay. And so I think at that point at the Hamptons meeting, shortly after that, is when that veiled threat in the came across him, Charlie, at the Aspen retreat. So he turns Bibi down in June, and then, or June or July at the Aspen or the Hamptons retreat. It might be August. I'll look at the timeline. Actually, let's pull up the timeline. All right, let's go here. All right, so this is the actual timeline that I have. All right. So in May, right, Charlie Kirk sends, let me make this a little bigger. All right. So in May, Charlie Kirk sends a letter to Bibi Netanyahu. All right. In June, so right after that, Bibi turns around. Okay. Well, in between here and here, Bibi asks Charlie to go on his show. Okay. And to do it with Charlie. Charlie says no. So then, never before, Bibi starts going on an American comeback tour of his own and goes on these podcasts in the United States, right? So Bibi Netanyahu appears on Brett Bayer. I don't know how to pronounce that. There's also here in late July, Netanyahu appears on the Full Send podcast. And then after, I'll get to that in a second. All right. So he goes on like 2 or 3, and we'll listen to Candace because she named a couple more that aren't on this list. Okay. But basically, Bibi goes on a podcast tour in June and July. Then Charlie has the Student Action Summit in July of 2025. That's where Dave Smith, Josh Hammer debate, right? That's where Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk interviews Megyn Kelly, and where Tucker Carlson goes Max, and Tucker Carlson is backstage with Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk tells Tucker to go Max. Okay. And that's here, speaks at the Student Action Summit. So it's literally like, man, it just set off a timeline in my mind. I see these as all connected events, right? Let's see. Charlie Kirk releases, and this is where it's released, the full Josh Hammer debate. It's the debate heard around the world, July 15th. I said this one. This is where Netanyahu appears on the Full Send podcast. In August, I think it's August 5th through 7th, is when the Hamptons donor retreat happens. And that's when the supposed phone call or the alleged phone call with Netanyahu occurs. And Netanyahu offers Charlie to do his letter with him, and he was going to give him $150 million. Okay. And then at the end of August is the Aspen donor retreat, where Charlie's kind of threatened, where he's like asked. So he turns down Bibi at the Hamptons retreat. And then these Jewish donors ask him in the Aspen retreat, hey, what's going to happen to TPUSA if you die? Okay. And then before, like a couple days before the assassination, Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly do a show together and they go max on everything. And then literally on the 10th, Charlie Kirk is assassinated. And then late in September, Netanyahu meets with influencers and content creators and discusses social media as modern warfare weapon. Okay. I can't help but see that these are all connected. All right. All right. Let's continue here.
Did the Nelk Boys. That was released on July 21st. He did Trigonometry. That was released on August 20th. He also did the Patrick Bet-David show. That was recorded and then released on August 26th. He did the Officer Tatum show.
That's crazy. So there's literally like 4 or 5 that didn't come up on ChatGPT and they're like publicly available. That's nuts. But so there's even more, right? So it's a total of like 5, 6, or 7 podcasts that Netanyahu goes on in America with what we know to be pretty much Zionist shills. Okay.
That interview was released on September 4th. Also on September 4th, he sat down with Eric Stakelback of TBN. Is it Stakelback? I'm not being funny when I say that I had never heard of Eric Stakelback before I was researching today's episode. And I'm not saying that to big time him, to be clear. I'm saying that because I want you to sit back and fully appreciate how positively bizarre and unusual it is that suddenly all of these people are scoring interviews with the Prime Minister of Israel, the sitting Prime Minister of Israel. That's a very important man. During, I might add.
Let me address something real quick. This Gemini. Or Gently M3 just watched an Ian clip today where he was talking about a Google trend search or Google search trend that happened before the event in Orem, and the number connection to an NG is addressed to Annie Guthrie. Here's the thing. I had someone, an avid member of this show, email me who did extensive research, but also has a good deal of experience and knowledge with Google search trends. And there's so many variables that could actually, so if someone uses a VPN, right, it might say that it's out of Orem or it's out of Philly or it's out of DC, and it's really not. And there'd be no way unless you know, and I'm going to do an episode on that in the next few days. Okay. Because there's a lot of information there about the Google search trends that I think needs to be at least brought up so that we can know the full context, that it's not necessarily as straightforward as we did a Google search trend and it says that this was Googled in Philly, or it was Googled in DC, or it was Googled in Utah. We have to verify whether or not that is actually where the IP address is, or if someone used a VPN and we might not know the actual location where it was Googled from. And there's other variables too that this member emailed me about that we'll go into in depth, okay? And if you guys want to ask me direct questions and comments, can you guys throw supers in? It's going to be hard for me to go through the live chat, especially it's moving as I'm not looking at it. And I see a couple and I'm going to miss it because I got to stay on track with the show. And at least the supers, it'll put them and it'll keep them there. And so I can get to them as we go. But once the live chat goes, like, I'm going to miss a lot of these direct questions to me. Okay. All right, let's continue.
Add wartime. So yeah, bizarre is the correct adjective, full stop. It's not bizarre for the podcasters who chose to host him. That would be a big get, especially if you're a Zionist and you believe in what he's saying, but it is abnormal. It should be beneath the office of a prime minister of a foreign country to stop what he is doing amidst a war to go on an American podcast tour. Okay. Suddenly, though, Bibi Netanyahu's overcome with the need to hit that podcast circuit. He's effectively on what can be described an American public relations tour in the run-up to Charlie's assassination. These are just the facts. Now, to put this into proper context, would it be strange to you if Keir Starmer, the current sitting prime minister of the UK, suddenly went on a...
But I'm surprised that they missed the ability to put all of these podcast appearances in context with the letter, with the Charlie Kirk letter to Bibi. Okay. And then Bibi asking to come on his show and him saying no. And then, Bibi proceeds to go on all of these podcasts from then until September 4th. And Bibi tries again at the Hamptons meeting to say like, hey, I'll give you 150 million and we can do it together. And I think that puts so much more context in this when you guys go read the letter and see that literally what Bibi ended up doing is in the letter. Okay. But Bibi did it himself instead of doing like fully what Charlie was recommending him do. And then, Bibi then and the Foreign Ministry of Philly after the assassination do the FAR filings, the show Faith by Works and the Clock Tower X, which is like the next stage of the letter. So just keep that in mind.
PR blitz in the United States. Like, for what reason would he do that? Why would he suddenly want or need an American audience to appreciate him? Prior to this PR blitz, Bibi Netanyahu had actually not sat down with an American podcaster in years.
Yep.
Years. Since 2023, to be precise, when he sat down with Lex Friedman.
Okay. It was
and I should make it clear that he made Lex Friedman fly to his office in Israel to conduct that interview.
Correct.
So to what did we owe the honor, Prime Minister? Because it feels to me a little bit like, and again, this is my opinion, pre-PR. Last time he had done any sort of an American PR blitz at all, outside of, independent podcast, I mean, just like him doing multiple shows in a row in America, that was back in 2022 when he was crucially not the sitting president.
And that's right before 2023, which is when October 7th happened.
A sitting prime minister of Israel. And there was a more appropriate context. He was hawking his crappy book. That's what he was doing in 2022. He was buying my book. So he went on a tour. That is a reason that people go on press tours, to hawk books. But there was no product in 2025 that he was selling. So what was he doing? And the crucial point again is that Charlie Kirk declined to have him on his show. His friend, Charlie Kirk, he would say, just a few days later, when Charlie was assassinated, he would say, oh, Charlie was a great friend. Well, really? Why did he refuse to have you on his show? I know, actually. That was a rhetorical question. The answer is because Charlie had a change of heart regarding Israel and the Hamptons, quote unquote, intervention, which took place the weekend of August 5th, only furthered Charlie's growing resentment against their strong arming influence. Park that in the back of your mind. Regarding the Egyptian planes, the one...
All right, now we're going to jump to the June timeline.
Subscription. Okay, so before I show you this timeline I'm putting together, I should make it clear that this is my internal working timeline. They're just things on this timeline, some of the things that could have nothing to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk. I just like to know things that were happening in the world. So not everything is necessarily a clue. It's just things that happened that I found relevant enough to put onto my timeline in general. But I do want to take a look at it here because things get interesting. I think things get interesting in June. We can pull that up here. We can start with the Boston Consulting Group. Yeah. Boston Consulting Group abandoning the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in June. This June 2nd entry, if this doesn't make sense to you.
And this is interesting because, I mean, I'm not going to go over the flights and everything, but keep in mind with all of the podcast tours and everything that Charlie's also doing in June and July, there's a lot of other factors outside of the United States that are, that's relating to Philly and things they're doing that's occurring in the same timeline, which I think is escalating this whole timeline up until, September 10th. Let's see, I'm going to hop to here.
To Fort Huachuca on September 8th that I was looking into for a while. That is when Charlie goes into the White House. We have confirmed those dates thanks to Brett Weinstein. Goes into the White House and he is arguing for us not to get involved in Israel's war with Iran. And he is debating very powerful Zionist lobbyists who are there to argue on behalf of Bibi Netanyahu.
Mhm.
And Charlie emerges the temporary winner of that. Trump moves to limit his involvement. And that's just an interesting inflection point, in my view. On that very same day, June 19th, the second day that he's arguing at the White House, Erica purges her Instagram. She deletes 126 posts. I find that to be very unusual. I just find that to be very unusual.
Okay, so the things that stand out to me, right? June 18th, 19th, Charlie goes into the White House and wins the debate against the pro-Philadelphian lobbyists and against Bibi about, just having a limited strike, on the nuclear sites in Iran, like Fordo. I do find this interesting, but it's not related to, it's probably related to the timeline, as Erica might be privy to how, this whole thing is increasingly getting intense and it's intensifying, and that if she is connected to all these people and to the assassination, she's aware that there's less and less time for Charlie to change his mind and correct course before they have to go with the ultimate plan, which is to take Charlie Kirk out, in my opinion, right? So then the bombing does happen in the Operation Midnight Hammer, June 22nd. Bradley Hansel, she talks about this undersecretary being confirmed, but the 12-day war comes to an end on the 24th. Oops. And let's see. Yeah, and the Rob McCoy thing, he resigns. But I think that's pretty much, because here she's talking about the flights, and that's not really pertinent to what I'm talking about tonight, even though it was important. Just the overall timeline of knowing. Let's see. This is important. Here we go. Let me back up. I want to get the beginning of it.
Could make sense. It's on my timeline anyways. August 5th through to the 7th is the now infamous Hamptons retreat and quote unquote intervention, Charlie's words, not mine, over Israel, where Charlie held the line, and you could see his energy regarding how he felt about the situation when he appeared on Megyn Kelly's podcast.
And right after the Hamptons retreat, Charlie flies and speaks with Tucker and tells him the exact same thing, because Tucker said that he told that just like that when he was on Theo Vaughn and on his own show, I think when Joe Kent was there and John Mappin and in a couple other places. Tucker was very clear that Charlie did feel threatened and bullied at the Hamptons retreat and by the Jewish donors, and he was over it. And he told Tucker that right after the Hamptons retreat.
In the following days, where he was upset and saying people were calling him anti-Semitic and that they were going to lose everybody. August 27th, we told you about Dylan Law Group drafting paperwork for Havas Media.
So this is part of the timeline, right? So on August 27th, when they realized that Charlie wasn't going to let Bibi put the money in, so that's on August 5th through 7th. That's when the phone call happens with Bibi and Charlie, and Bibi offers to put in $150 million and to do Charlie's letter through him, and he says no. Then they go to their other contingency, which is this Dylan Law Group begins drafting the paperwork for the Havas Media Group, Clock Tower X, Show Faith by Works, FAR filing. Okay. So they're going to do it their own way.
On behalf of Clock Tower LLC, Show Faith by Works, they're going to legally geofence and spread propaganda on behalf of Israel. September 9th is when Charlie sends a message declaring he has left the pro-Israel cause due to their intense bullying and financial pressure. Afterward, he has a Zoom call with Josh Hammer and a rabbi from Israel. Sometime later that evening, he sends out messages declaring that an unknown they are going to kill him.
Yep.
Turning Point says he meant trannies on a rooftop. That's what he meant.
No
I
way.
don't think so. I don't think that he was worried about transgendered people.
Nope. Yep.
I call BS on that.
Yep.
And until further evidence is produced, like the actual messages, I'm inclined to believe that the turning point tells a lot of lies.
So, what are some like dual citizens of Philly and of the United States that have, platform, uh, that are going to be pro Philadelphian and supposedly MAGA and America First, right? You have Ben Shapiro and Josh Hammer, who probably both are being heavily propped up by Philly and their dads. But I think that's where probably Bibi ended up looking after Charlie said no. Okay. And to these other probably like, you know, Officer Tatum. I mean, but they're not Philadelphian. Like Charlie's letter said, you need like Philly, individuals to, promote pro Philadelphian narratives. But I think that they have Josh and Hammer and Ben Shapiro, and then they have, people like Graham Allen and Seth Dillon and Gary Melton and, all of those, and Brandon Tatum.
Obviously, we know what happens thereafter. Charlie's assassinated, and Bibi declares again in another little PR
and Tim Pool
blitz that Israel didn't kill him. Nothing to see there.
Yeah, that's weird.
So I wanted you guys to have that updated little timeline to look through in your.
It's kind of like when somebody passes gas and they're first to say like, I didn't do it. You're like, bro, like, yeah, you just told us that you did it by saying you didn't do it. At least that's how I look at the Bibi thing. Like no one at that point knew any of this context yet. Only people really close to Charlie and Bibi would know all this context. But, a guilty conscience and a paranoid mind, knowing everything that Bibi knows, not being aware that like what we all know or don't know, he thought he had to get out ahead of it, He's kind of like Andrew Colvett, the worst PR person in the world.
Your own time. I also want to tell you a little detail here that I found out that's seemingly crazy, but it actually checked out to be true. Somebody had sent me a tip regarding Mitt Romney and his relationship.
Yeah, Mitt Romney's weird. There's a lot of weird stuff there. I just watched, there's a guy named Johnny Harris. He's got a YouTube channel. He's former LDS. Like he went on a mission trip and was raised in the LDS church and was like a full member for his whole life and married and sealed in the temple and everything. But as he has grown, he's kind of like undone a lot of the propaganda and brainwashing that he says that himself, you guys. But what's interesting is that the Mormon church, back in its early days and its inception, when they were moving from the East Coast, first they go from upstate New York, then they go to Ohio, then they go to Illinois, and then they end up in Utah. But both, each time, like Illinois was supposed to be the promised land. Then Ohio was supposed to be the promised land. And it was supposedly on the border of the Lamanites, which would have been the Native Americans, but in their own history and genealogy, it's the Lamanites, right? And they also said like that's where the Garden of Eden originally was in Ohio. And then, but they get, they kind of get ran out of town, and Joseph Smith is unalived, and everyone else picks up and moves west into the Utah territory, where they were going to build Zion, which is the, it was supposed to be the city where Christ returns and brings his kingdom onto earth. And literally the Mormon church in its inception positioned itself to be the new Israel. It literally did. And so that's what I find so interesting, that there's deep, deep ties with the LDS leadership and the church, the Mormon church and Philly, because like they're actually at odds theologically, right? Because if they actually believe what, the founders wrote down and what their religion says, it's that they are the chosen ones. They, in order to be exalted, you have to be a full member in good standing, right? And you have to be baptized in the church, right? You have to be sealed in the temple, right? You have to be married in the temple, you and your wife, and your kids all have to be sealed in the temple. You have to be a full tithing member your entire time, and they keep tabs on that. You literally have to do all these things in order to be exalted to the highest third heaven, which is the celestial heaven. And only people that are in the LDS church is going to be able to go to Zion and do all that. And they kind of usurp like Philly's claims that's their claim. They're the God's chosen people, and they're the ones that will inherit, based on their prophecies. But I don't know how the two religions that are actually competing for the same place, for the same thing, are actually such good partners, unless everyone in leadership knows that. Yeah, it doesn't. Maybe the people that are in those positions don't actually believe what their religion teaches, and they're kind of like what is it, like Candace said, like B'nai B'rith, right? These individuals come from all over. They infiltrate different religions. They learn the language, and they adopt that religion, and then they kind of usurp it from within. Maybe that's what's happening in both of the and that's how they can be so chummy with one another. But all right, I know I digress. Sorry. Because she started talking about Mitt Romney, and I just watched this full documentary on that today, and it was fascinating. Go look at Johnny Harris, his YouTube page. He has like a 2-hour documentary on it, and it's fascinating, you guys, if you want to know about the full history and truth about the LDS church, from someone that was LDS. All right, let's move on. Let's go here. All right, so now let me set the stage. Okay. So in 1954, before JFK was running for president, I mean, I know what they believe about the afterlife. Gently, M3. Yeah, they believe that God the Father is a physical man, right? Has a physical fleshly body. That there is a mother God, right? That this God the Father and this mother God were actually humans on a different earth who made it to the third heaven and were then given this new earth to then have spirit babies and to populate the earth, of which Jesus is one of them. And that, so they believe in 3 different heavens, and, to be exalted to the highest heaven, you have to do X amount of things. It's really salvation to that by works, not just by faith. And so it's it's not Christian. I can tell you that. And that's why, like, I really don't understand why Charlie, okay, I could understand politically why Charlie would align with the LDS church and LDS people. But at its roots, LDS is not Christian. And I'm sorry if someone in here is LDS. I apologize. I've done I've done so much study, but salvation is through faith alone. But true faith then bears fruit, okay? But salvation is through Christ and Christ alone. There's no salvation through works, okay? And nowhere in the New or the Old Testament does it talk about, Jewish Old Testament and mystical texts and, the Kabbalah, they have different beliefs about the afterlife and Sheol and all that. But Christian theology on heaven and hell is very clear and concise, and it doesn't talk about 3 heavens, right? And that the way to attain these 3 heaven, or to the third heaven, is to do X amount of works in a temple and having to do all these other things instead of on the blood of Christ alone is what gives salvation. So, yeah. All right. Let's continue. Oh, I like Jay Dyer. Yeah, Jay Dyer's dope. Yeah. Yeah, there we go, Cynthia. Yep. Salvation by faith, not works. Correct. But when you are truly transformed and, allowed Christ into your heart, you will bear fruit. And that fruit will be evident of that internal change that happened when you allowed Christ to come in and start working within you, right? However, Paul is very, very clear through faith, not by works, period. End of story, right? I don't know who Matt Frad is. I'll have to look into that. All right, let me continue. Oh, let me set the stage. Okay, so JFK in 1954, before he's running for president, before he's on his campaign tour, he says something that nobody has ever said before in a position like him, and after which he never repeated, but he never walked it back. But Philly never forgot, and Ben Gurion never forgot, okay, who was the prime minister at the time. All right. So let's take a listen.
Washington, D.C. Senator John F. Kennedy of Massachusetts takes the floor of the United States Senate. He is 40 years old. He has been a senator for 5 years. He is already thinking about running for president, and he is about to deliver a speech that will infuriate the Israeli government and American Jewish organizations. The speech is about Algeria, about French colonialism, about independence movements across the world. But buried in this speech is a statement about the Middle East. Kennedy says that the United States should support the right of the Arab refugees to repatriation or to adequate compensation for their lost lands and property.
What?
This is the first time a major American political figure has publicly endorsed the principle that Palestinian refugees have a right to return to their homes or receive compensation. The Israeli government is shocked. American Jewish leaders are furious. They demand Kennedy clarify his position.
Now, think about this. Most people don't even know that JFK ever said this, okay? Do you think the political elite in Philly and Jewish, Americans here in the United States that are pro-Philly and are Zionists forgot about that statement when JFK became president? They were terrified of a second term. Okay. They knew he wouldn't do it his first term. Okay. Your first term, you're really just kind of like you're leading for your second term, right? And your second term is where you could say, what are you going to do? Impeach me back then, I don't think he really thought that they were going to unalive him, sadly. Okay. But, these individuals like Ben Gurion and others in Philly and here in the United States were terrified of a second JFK term, because even though he never said this again about the repatriation or compensation for Palestinians to be compensated or to be repatriated, even though he never said it again, he never, walked it back and said that he was wrong for saying it. And he said other things too, right? He was huge about, Philly registering as a foreign agent with FARA. It was massive, right? And he was literally about to kick them out and almost did right before he got assassinated. And then Lyndon Baines undid all of that, right? He also was telling them he wanted no one to have nukes, but he really didn't want them to have nukes. And he wanted to, have oversight completely of their nuclear, energy program and their nuclear program. He didn't want them to have anything. And remember, their agents stole our plans and our, patents and our, our program. They basically copied and pasted our nuclear program and our nuclear, warhead program and gave it to them, and then gave it to the Soviets too. So that's cool. Or sold it.
They pressure him to retract the statement. Kennedy refuses.
Oh?
He stands by his words. And this moment becomes a turning point in how Israel views the young senator who, 3 years later, will become president. This is the story of what JFK said about Palestinian refugees, why he said it, and how this statement shaped Israel's concerns about Kennedy throughout his presidency. Let's begin by understanding the context of 1957 and the
Did you guys know that JFK had said that? Did you guys know that? I didn't know that.
Palestinian refugee crisis that Kennedy was addressing. The Palestinian refugee crisis began in 1948, when Israel declared independence on May 14, 1948. War immediately broke out between Israel and neighboring Arab states. During this war, approximately 700,000 Palestinian Arabs fled or were expelled from their homes in what became Israel. These Palestinians became refugees. The causes of this refugee flight remain disputed. Israeli sources argue that most Palestinians left voluntarily, believing they would return after Arab armies defeated Israel.
But we don't believe what they say. I can't let this play too long. If you guys want to go watch it, it's on Historical Void YouTube channel, okay? And it is what JFK said about Palestinian refugees, the speech that enraged Philly. Let me see where I want to jump to right here.
1957 came Senator John F. Kennedy's speech. The speech was titled Imperialism, the Enemy of Freedom. Kennedy delivered it on July 2, 1957, on the Senate floor. The primary subject was Algeria, which was fighting for independence from France. Kennedy argued that the United States should support independence movements and oppose European colonialism. In the middle of this speech about Algeria,
So, what are the two countries that seem to be involved in the Charlie Kirk assassination? France and Philly. Who seems to be involved in, one of many different, American, departments or organizations, governmental departments and organizations, intel agencies, but the two countries that seemingly were involved in the JFK assassination was France and Philly. JFK pissed them both off. And I'm guessing that, sorry, I didn't mean to click back and forth, but when Charlie Kirk called Candace and told her on behalf of Trump, who was doing it on behalf of the Macrons, and Charlie told Candace to stop going Max on Brigitte, on Jean-Michel Trogneau, that's his name in real life. And Candace, and they lied to her. They're like, oh, there's the peace in Ukraine is at stake. We're this close, but you just got to stop talking about Brigitte's, thing-a-ling-a-ding-a-ding-a-ling, you got to stop showing that E.T. Macron doll. You got to stop it. And when Candace only temporarily stopped and then went Max again, I don't think they were, and I'm sure there was other things that Charlie did, and I'm sure we'll find out as we go along why France seems to be involved in the Charlie Kirk plan and assassination as well. But at least there was that tie that Charlie was asked on behalf of Trump, on behalf of the Macrons, to get Candace to stop. And she didn't. So I don't think they took too kindly to that. Hey, can you guys do me a favor as we are still here? Can you please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done so already? We have like 69 people here. We have like 54 likes. But as we go along, we should still be increasing because like some people, sign off and have, go eat dinner or they go to bed. And so it's not the same original 50. Well, now it's 55. Well, thank you to the one person that just did it. I appreciate you. All right, let's continue.
Kennedy made a broader argument about American foreign policy in the developing world. He said the United States needed to support self-determination, support refugees, support human rights. Then Kennedy said this, "Yet, what have we done to the Middle East? Instead of recognizing the legitimate claims of the Arab refugees."
Look who's back here. Look who this is. You guys know who this person is right here? Look at that disdain in his eyes. This is Lyndon Baines Johnson right here. Right there. Does not like Senator Kennedy. Not at all. Kennedy didn't like him either, but he knew that it was politically expedient to get him to be his vice president. Yeah. The other thing that Charlie Kirk and JFK had in common was they both pissed off the intel agencies, right? JFK has that famous speech where he says, like, Americans are inherently opposed to secret societies, secret oaths, secret dealings, secret handshakes, right? Charlie Kirk, literally, his favorite congressman was Massey, and Charlie on his own show was like, he's going to go hard for those intel agencies, right? There's so many similarities between JFK and Charlie Kirk. Yeah. It's sad. And that's not even to mention the actual assassination itself, like a seeming magic bullet, right? The lone patsy, the radical leftist lone patsy, right? The rifle doesn't match. The one that they hold up is not the same one that is actually the one used, right? That happened in both cases. Tyler James Robinson, Lee Harvey Oswald. It's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, history does repeat itself, right? It sadly does. Oh, what up? Always be true. Thank you so much. Those Egyptian planes most likely landed in Le Barreau Airport, Paris. Wonder what they were doing over there. I agree. Sorry, I didn't mean to exhale into the mic like that. For sure, France is involved, right? And if Mitt Romney and people in other the Romney family have deep ties to France, he did his mission trip there, right? They helped him avoid any kind of jail time or prison sentence for running someone over with his car and unaliving them with his car. So that means people high up, like, aristocracy within the LDS, religion, is deeply, deeply connected to political and, elite and other elite families in France. Okay. And that, there's ties, these French planes flying into Delaware and into Utah. I mean, there is a lot of through lines here, you guys. There really is. Some of these things that a lot of people, on the anti-Candace side have been saying, like, this is so stupid. This is so crazy. These things aren't connected. They have nothing to do with anything. I don't think so. I think they do. I think they do. And I think we'll find out as we go along. Yep. Thank you, Dulcinea, to say hit that like. Please remember to hit that like. Growing the Black Line Brief community. Thanks. Yes. Thank you, guys. All right, let's continue. All right, let me go to the next clip that I have. This is an interesting one from Jackie O. Let me go here. Let me make sure I'm sharing it. I am. All right.
4. Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis died at the age of 64 in her Manhattan apartment. The world mourned the loss of one of America's most iconic first ladies. But what most people didn't know was that Jackie had left behind something extraordinary. Sealed away in a vault at the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library in Boston were 8.5 hours of audio recordings that she had made in 1964, just months after her husband's assassination. These tapes were supposed to remain sealed for 50 years after her death, meaning they wouldn't be released until 2044. But 17 years later, in 2011, her daughter, Caroline Kennedy, made a decision that would draw enormous public attention. She chose to release the tapes early, in conjunction with the 50th anniversary of her father's presidency. What the world heard when those recordings were finally made public was nothing like the soft-spoken fashion icon they remembered from the early 1960s. Instead, they encountered a woman in her mid-30s, recently widowed but dry-eyed and determined. Her voice was distinctive and breathy.
Keep in mind, a lot of people don't know this. LBJ is Jewish. He is, okay, deeply and is staunch Zionist, and hated JFK. And Jackie and JFK knew that, okay? And even Nixon said this on some of his tapes later down the line, that he believed that Lyndon Baines Johnson was part of the assassination, okay? And that Philly was too, okay? Keep that in mind.
At times wistful, at times wickedly irreverent. You could hear matches striking, ice cubes clinking, and even her children playing in the background. It was an intimate snapshot of Jacqueline Kennedy that the world had never seen before. The interviews had been conducted by historian Arthur Schlesinger, Jr., a Kennedy family friend and former White House aide. In March of 1964, just 4 months after the assassination that had shattered her world, Jackie sat down in her Georgetown home to record 7 lengthy conversations. Schlesinger gently guided her through her memories of the Kennedy presidency, from the 1960 campaign to the Cuban Missile Crisis, from daily life in the White House to the personalities and politics of the era. Jackie agreed to these interviews because, as her daughter Caroline later explained, she was guided by her sense of history. Her husband had been shot and killed before he could give his own perspective on his presidency, so Jackie felt an obligation to provide hers. She told her children that she was putting these tapes away for 50 years, presumably so that everyone involved would be long gone before the world heard what she really thought. And what she really thought was far more candid than anyone expected. The recordings revealed a woman who was funny and inquisitive, canny and cutting. She shared keen observations on world leaders and American politicians. She spoke critically of figures like Charles de Gaulle, calling him an egomaniac.
Charles de Gaulle, he's French. Oh my goodness, it comes back. All these same characters that are involved and seemingly involved in Charles de Gaulle's not involved in the Charlie Kirk assassination, but France seems to be, okay?
She described Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi as pushy and bitter, and she made controversial comments about Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement.
Isn't that interesting? Charlie Kirk did that too.
But some of the most striking revelations on those tapes concerned Lyndon Baines Johnson, the man who had been John F. Kennedy's vice president and who succeeded him as president after the assassination. What Jackie said about LBJ painted a picture of deep tension and mistrust that had existed between the Kennedy inner circle and Johnson even before that fateful day in Dallas.
According to Jackie's recollection on the tapes, President Kennedy had discussed political concerns about Johnson's future role in the party. Jackie recalled that her husband had said to her, quote, "Oh God, can you ever imagine what would happen to the country if Lyndon was president?" End quote. She said that both Jack and his brother Robert Kennedy were worried for the country about this prospect. In her account, Kennedy had begun conversations with Bobby about potential alternatives, discussing who might become the Democratic Party's standard-bearer in 1968.
And if their phones were tapped, if they were being followed, meaning Teddy and JFK, which for sure they were, and, these individuals connected with LBJ, the intelligence communities in Philly, heard that these two brothers that were young, charismatic, and opposed to everything that they were for, and were working to make sure that there was never going to be an LBJ presidency. And then you chalk that up with all the other data points that we know happened between, the time he was elected and the time he was assassinated, And I think there's so much in common with Charlie Kirk and JFK.
Instead of Johnson. This revelation sparked debate among historians. It meant that JFK was apparently thinking about finding a way to prevent his own vice president from succeeding him in a second term.
Yep.
The relationship between Kennedy and Johnson had never been warm. Johnson had competed bitterly with Kennedy for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1960, and many in the Kennedy camp had been shocked when JFK chose Johnson as his running mate. The selection made political sense. Johnson brought Texas and Southern support to the ticket, but it created an uneasy partnership. Jackie's recollections on the tapes depicted Johnson as someone the Kennedy family viewed with suspicion and even disdain. Many Kennedy staffers were known to view Johnson as politically and culturally different from the Kennedy circle. These Harvard-educated intellectuals saw the Texas politician as coming from a different world than their own.
And what do you know? Texas is huge in the JFK assassination, and individuals in Texas, what seems to be all over the Charlie Kirk assassination too, individuals and people from Texas. Yeah. I mean, it's not like a 1-for-1, like it's an exact match, but like, holy smokes, there is so much that like the same power structures, the same, I don't know, like groups, countries, with France and Philly, that JFK certainly pissed off and made afraid of what JFK would do in a second term. Charlie was beginning to do, and Charlie had so much more time and life ahead of him. And then, JFK was young too, but he had a lot of physical issues, and he wasn't. He didn't live a sober and healthy lifestyle like Charlie did. So, if you guys could hear what I could hear right now, my kids, holy smokes. Good thing you can't. Oh, kids, you gotta love them. All right, let's move on. Yeah, I think this is just the beginning part that I can share of this one as well. Let me make sure I shared it. Okay.
JFK assassination, people don't know. It's probably some of the most shocking documents that I think anybody should really know to understand the U.S.-Israel relationship. Because at the time, Israel was nowhere near as close as they are to the United States now. And John F. Kennedy wanted it to stay that way.
Ken and Wally, welcome to the show. Welcome back, Ken. Welcome for the first time, Wally. Tell us about what you recently discovered and how you discovered it.
Yeah, absolutely. So funny enough, my whole JFK fascination started about 3 years ago now. And initially, I was just curious about why AIPAC was such a powerful lobby. I had nothing to do with John F. Kennedy. So I started looking into the history of AIPAC. And I found a website. Now the documents have went pretty viral. I'm not sure if you saw a lot of the, AIPAC's original documents, how it was founded and everything. But there were FOIA requests.
Oh, we're going to get to this, but I want to put this up here. Is this it right here? President Lyndon Baines Johnson Jewish aunt was Jessie Johnson Hatcher, a prominent member of the Zionist Organization of America. She was a major influence in shaping LBJ's early pro-Jewish sentiments. Thank you, Michelle Simmons, 647. 100%. All right, let's continue, because this is interesting about AIPAC and Philly, and just we can draw the ties.
In the early, I think mid 2000s, on just basically every document coming out of AIPAC's origin. That's when I started. So I started looking through that, and I started realizing, wait a second, the AIPAC was going through fighting with the State Department and the Department of Justice to register as a foreign agent. It wasn't just, one set of letters back and forth. They were, and it was John F. Kennedy's administration, of course. And the Department of Justice asked them to file as a foreign agent 7 times. And from there, I started seeing, wait a second, I had no idea that John F. Kennedy was trying to have the entire Zionist lobby register as a foreign agent. His goal, started with the American Zionist Council, which was AIPAC's predecessor. But the goal was to have the entire Zionist movement register as a foreign agent. And that really is what initially got me curious about John F. Kennedy. And then I started...
Charlie was pretty aware of this too, right? And he talked about it many, many times about Jewish donors, Jewish lobbyists. Started
looking into it more because I was like, okay, well, this is interesting that they had such a sour relationship regarding AIPAC. What else is there related to, John F. Kennedy and Israel? And what was John F. Kennedy's stance towards the Palestinians? So, and that started about a 3-year journey looking into it. But the way I started learning about the bomb was really through that. And I started to realize I was also going through a lot of documents now. George Washington University, so a professor at George Washington University was able to send a lot of FOIA requests and received a lot of documents. And these documents were also, I'd say, in the mid-2000s as well. And it was directly related to John F. Kennedy talking back and forth with Israel's first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion, on Israel's development of nuclear weapons. Media doesn't touch on this too much, but it's probably some of the most shocking documents that I think anybody, any American should really know to understand the U.S.-Israel relationship. Because at the time, Israel was nowhere near as close as they are to the United States now. Nothing like it was today. And John F. Kennedy wanted it to stay that way. He felt that it would be good for the interests of Israel and the United States and the rest of the world if the United States treated Israel as an equal to the rest of the Arab world, because he knew it would alienate the Arabs. And this was during the Soviet Union. So he was worried that if he got too close to Israel, the Arabs would get close to the Soviets. They didn't want that.
And that's literally what happened.
He's like, they have to be a fair player. John F. Kennedy was also really big on stopping nuclearization globally, not just in Israel, but just across the planet. I mean, he did the nuclear treaty with Russia. So he was going back and forth with Israel's first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion. And David Ben-Gurion just kind of kept hopping around the subject. And he didn't want to directly address it. Israel had the Dimona nuclear site, and the French were helping them actually build it.
Did you say the French? There seems to be this common thread and theme. Philly, France, Philly, JFK, Charlie Kirk, France, Philly, Charlie Kirk. Political elite. American Jewish donors and lobbyists and elite. Looks like they pissed off a lot of the same people.
And John F. Kennedy kept asking and pressing for American inspections at the site. And the Israelis were just going back and forth. I
forgot. And, okay, the Red Shields, the Rothschilds, you guys, because it is the French line of the Rothschilds that is the wealthiest and the most powerful. Okay. And they're Jewish, right? And they literally bought the land that created Philly, okay, post World War II, right at the end. All right. Who was Charlie speaking out about? Jeffy Epi. What's in those files? The Rothschilds. Literally like all of the same people, just in a different time and in different ways. JFK pissed off these individuals, and so did Charlie Kirk. And they had to get rid of both of them. And so they're like, hey, we did it once. We did it like this. It worked. I mean, it was a little dirty, but here we are, however many years later, 1960. Nobody knows the truth, not publicly, never been publicly admitted, and no one ever publicly, was held to account for it. Did those just turn off? I had those turned on, man. There we go. There we go. All right. Literally the same people. always be true. Macron worked, at the Rothschild Bank. Yes, he did. He was made like the head of the bank, and like didn't even know like the certain acronyms and like basic things that like if you're gonna work in the Rothschild Bank and work hand in hand with like the International Bank or the Bank of International Settlements and IMF and World Bank and central banks and the Rothschilds, and you should know what you're doing. But he was a moron. His last name should be called Emmanuel Moron, because literally everyone in his high school and his I forget what it's called in France, but like college, graduate school, were like, this guy's a moron. Couldn't even pass the exams. They had to disband test scores because he couldn't pass. Now that's some power. When somebody behind you wants you to succeed so bad that they're like, just get rid of the scores while he's there. We'll put him back later. Nah. He's a yes man. He's just going to do what we tell him. So, I mean, that's why we like him. Not because he's smart, because he's stupid and he is malleable.
They brushed around it. They wouldn't give exact dates. They let American inspectors eventually come, and they actually built fake rooms inside the Dimona nuclear site, so that way they can kind of confuse, basically lie to the Americans and show them just fake setups, right, and not really show them everything going on.
Yep. So there was a lot going on with JFK. All right, let's gonna hop over here. All right, we're gonna look at a little bit of so this is the Josh Hammer, Dave Smith debate that Charlie Kirk moderates. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We're just going to watch a little bit of Charlie.
All right, everybody. How are we all doing? So first, where were you a year ago today? I bet you remember exactly where you were. A year ago today, Donald Trump was in Butler, Pennsylvania. A year ago today, our republic was probably saved by just a couple of centimeters. A year ago today, by the grace of God and a turn of the head tilt, a bullet whizzed by Donald Trump's face and barely scraped his ear. And
you guys know where everyone else is tonight? Are there other big channels going right now? Is that why some of the regulars aren't here? I don't see. Some people I think are on vacation or doing other stuff, but like Glenn and Bree, I don't see. But July 13th, Friday the 13th. I don't know what you guys are talking about. All right, I'm going to keep going.
As we're closing out this conference, I think we just need to just remember how far our nation has come in the span of 1 year.
Oh, no, July 13th was Butler. Sorry. My bad.
Of how much has changed. And thanks to the goodness and glory of God that Donald Trump turned his head at that very moment. I'll never forget where I was with my daughter. All of a sudden, I saw we were in some workout area, and all of a sudden on screen, Donald Trump shot. You all remember where you were when you first heard the news. And then what a sigh of relief when we saw him rise up and he said, fight, fight, fight. 1 year.
I remember exactly where I was. I was at my brother-in-law's house in Dallas, Texas, because we had just moved to Texas, and it was somebody's like birthday party. They were having like a barbecue pool party, and we were all outside, and I thought it was fake. At first. Like, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, whoa, what the heck is going on?
A year ago to this day, but the reason I want to start with this is that we also lost one of our own patriots that day, Corey Compatore. And we should just do a moment of silence for 10 seconds to remember Corey Compatore that lost his life a year ago today.
Let's get to right here.
And give it up for both these men again. So we have a clock here. We can blow through that if this is going well and respectful and spirited. I first wanted to start by introducing both these men. Josh Hammer.
Look at the difference between Dave Smith, total down-to-earth, normal Jewish American, humble dude, and look at this freaking goober. look at him. No sock, penny loafer, white pants. What a goober. This guy takes himself way too seriously. And man, I don't like that dude.
Newsweek, Josh Hammer's show. Josh is a very passionate and eloquent defender of Israel, and also is a great friend.
He's got jeans on, casual, like button down, collar open, rolled up sleeves, Nikes, and look at Josh. Look at Josh. No watch, no jewelry. Look at gold. He's probably got a very expensive watch on. I bet it's name brand pants, name brand jacket, name brand button down, name brand loafers. I bet this whole outfit Josh is wearing is easily like $500, maybe even more, including the watch. And then we got Dave Smith, who's like, yeah, I just bring my intellect, my IQ, and my ideas, and I debate, bro, and I'll beat you on that. And Josh is like, freaking Josh.
And someone that we talk about a lot of other issues as well. So, Josh, welcome. Great to have you.
Great to be here, Charlie.
Also, Dave Smith.
Great to be here, Charlie. I also can't stand the way Josh talks, and same with Ben Shapiro.
It's hard to look at them. It's also hard to listen to them.
Dave is comedian. A lot of fans of yours here in the audience, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
And also a libertarian.
Yep.
And we're not going to talk much about that. But we were talking about how much we agreed backstage on certain things. And Dave, means a lot that you made work here. You took an awful flight to get here from halfway across the country. And so, Dave, you could plug your stuff as well, because I don't know the name of your show and stuff. But I want to start with this. I want to start with opening statements, if you will. There are three big things that I want to cover. And we just did a focus group with some of our students here.
So, and that's also when the focus group happened that we looked at, you guys. That was the one with Charlie Kirk, Andrew Colvett, and the chapter leads of TPUSA, where they literally talked about Philly the whole time. And Charlie was pretty much in agreement with them on everything. And Andrew Colvett tried to like direct and redirect and correct course throughout that entire, sit down focus group. Okay. That should be added in the timeline too. I forgot, because that was an attempt for Charlie. And so is this. This was an attempt where Charlie did a lot of things in, from June to September, to where he didn't even have to be the one saying all the things that he believed, that we believed here in America, Gen Z, and even up to me, 40 years old, believed about Philly and America first and MAGA, and how Philly needs to just take a hike, right? Charlie's smart. He knew that he was already becoming the whipping boy. He was already becoming target and enemy number one. So he's like, that's fine. Let's do focus groups. Let's do a debate. Let me have Megyn Kelly on. Let me have Tucker Carlson on. Let's let them listen to all of these big named individuals, and then the students themselves, Gen Z, which is the population that Philly wanted to win back, that they had lost. I think Charlie was very strategic in everything he was doing leading up to September. And I think he was only getting started. Can you imagine if given more time, who he would have at his events, who he would have on his show, what other focus groups, what other debates, what other things Charlie would promote? And if Charlie was around for Venezuela, if he was around for the war in Iran, all you have to do is go listen to like Candace, go listen to Dave Smith, go listen to Tucker Carlson. You can listen to Megan on a couple things, but she's a fence sitter. She goes wherever the wind blows, It's quite a bummer. But Charlie would be doing and saying the things that Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson are saying and doing. And that would have been super dangerous with Turning Point at his feet, at his control. And they weren't going to let that happen. And they weren't going to let it go that he said no to the money and to let Bibi on. And so they literally bought their way in. And that's why I think Erica and Andrew Colvett and Mikey McCoy and Blake Neff have to be part of it, whether it's they knew from before or they were read in, or they were compartmentalized and knew some parts but not the whole thing. But they completely changed course and turned TPUSA into the very thing Charlie said no to. He said, no, BB, you're not coming on my show. No, I'm not taking your money. No, I'm not doing that with my organization. I told you, here's the letter. You know, you're not smart enough to figure it out yourself. 7 pages, detailed. It's basically like a plan. Just implement it, you moron. I even gave you the name of the network, okay? Just go implement it. You got the money. You got the network. You got the influence. Go make it happen. Yeah, BB wasn't going to do that. He wanted TPUSA. It's like, a jealous, kid that's envious of a toy of a neighbor kid and can't let it go and just wants that one. Even though there's other ones, even though he could go ask mommy or whatever, you could get it another way. No, he wants that one because he doesn't just want that. He wants you to not have it. He wants you to feel the pain of losing it. But he also wants what you said no to. No, you can't play with my toy. No, I won't do that for you, BB. Okay. Your freedom is an illusion, Charlie. We've let you believe you're free. You never were as free as you think you are. And I think JFK was under that same misconception that he could say and do things that people weren't going to unalive him. And it's a sad reality that these people are super evil and don't give it. Yeah.
Earlier, the 3 big things we want to cover. We want to cover the 12-day war between Israel and Iran. What do we think of that? Good, bad? How did Trump handle it? Number 2, we want to talk about the appeared, the fake, or the real amount of Israeli influence in American politics, from AIPAC to how congressmen are involved, and kind of have our discussion debate. And then finally, it's one thing to be against stuff, everybody. You can always, I don't like this, I don't like that. I want both of these men to present what their solution is, their proposition of what they are proposing. So with that, though, Dave, I thought it would be helpful. This is your first Turning Point event. Some people aren't familiar with your work. Introduce yourself, make an introductory statement, and the floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you very much, and thank you guys for having me. As Charlie mentioned, I took a flight here, so I'm going on no sleep. So if Josh wins, it doesn't count. But I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm also a libertarian. I'm really a follower of the greatest congressman who's ever lived, who is Dr. Ron Paul, who is turning 90 years old. Happy birthday to him.
Yep.
As far as, look, I would say I think that American foreign policy for my entire life has been insane, and like criminally insane.
Yep.
We've launched war after war. We've talked about peace through strength the whole time, but all we've gotten is permanent militarism and forever wars against countries that pose no threat to us. And a huge part of the reason why we've embarked on this is because the neoconservatives hijacked our foreign policy.
Yep.
And they were in power after 9/11.
Yep.
And the neoconservatives, as everybody who's followed it knows, were joined at the hip with the Likud party.
Yep.
That's just a fact. They all admit it in their own words. And you can go back and you can read the Clean Break memo. You can read the companion piece, Coping with Crumbling States. This was written by David Wormser and Richard Pearl. And they laid out their plan. Now, their plan was that to help Israel, the clean break is a break from the peace process, a break from Oslo, which was designed to give the Palestinians their own state. And these neoconservative geniuses,
which JFK wanted to do,
decided that instead of the Israelis making peace with the Palestinians, they could just have the U.S. overthrow all of the surrounding governments that were giving Israel a hard time. And this is where 4-star General Wesley Clark says that he saw the plans right after 9/11 to overthrow 7 countries in the next 5 years. And what was the last country on that list? It was Iran. Okay.
You guys remember what I said? What Warner von Braun said to Carol Rosen, his like secondhand or number one, I don't know, secretary or admin assistant or something like that. And he was part of secret groups, secret societies, the elite. He said that they had this plan, right? 7 countries in a certain amount of time in the Middle East, right? And, first it'd be Russia, then it was going to be the Middle East. And then when that's done, then it's going to be the final card. The final card is going to be a fake alien invasion. I'm just saying, man, a lot of these the things are all connected.
This is a big part of what the whole conflict is about. Now, the neoconservative has kind of become like a pejorative for war hawks these days. And don't get me wrong, I support that. Keep calling them neocons. But the actual neoconservatives, the self-identified neoconservatives, aren't really in power anymore. But Benjamin Netanyahu is still in power in Israel.
Yep.
And the Likud party is still pushing for this. Now, I want very quickly, I'll try to not go too long here. Okay. They actually did focus group testing back.
And I would love to hear some of your guys' thoughts on any of the things that we've covered tonight. So please, if you have anything to add, anything I've left out, any questions you want me to clarify, please get a super chat in and I'll get to it, okay?
In the 90s, before the first Gulf War in Iraq. And, Americans weren't really moved by, we have to reinstall the king of Kuwait, but they were moved by the nuclear threat. Now, if you go read Coping with Crumbling States or the Clean Break Memo, in the 90s, when the neocons admitted they wanted to overthrow Saddam Hussein, they never said it was because he had nuclear weapons. They said he was a problem for Israel in the region. They only made up that lie after 9/11 because they knew that's what would sell you, or maybe not you, you're too young, but sell your moms and dads on going and fighting this war. And by the way, when they talked about wanting to overthrow Iran, it was the same thing. Never had nothing to do with a nuclear threat.
Right.
That's just the thing they use now as the excuse. Yep. So yes, there is tremendous influence by Israel in our government. That doesn't mean I'm subscribing to some crazy conspiracy or telling you to hate Jewish people. I'm Jewish.
Yep.
I'm just saying they have influence. They've used it in a very negative way, and we should reject this insane foreign policy and embrace the foreign policy that Dr. Ron Paul advocated, which is the foreign policy of the founding fathers. Stay out of entangling alliances, stay out of unnecessary wars, be friends with the world, and trade with the world. That's the key to prosperity.
Thank you, Dave.
Amen. Amen. I'm not going to listen to Josh Hammer, you guys. And I'm not going to make you do that either. All right. Let's go here. I just saw always be true. Okay. Do we know what date the cray Lori Cardoza Moore sent the text to Charlie? That lady needs to be interrogated. Yeah, I'll look that up right now as I hit play. Gosh, I didn't know it was going to be that long. Sorry, hold on. Let me get to when Charlie makes it to the stage. I'm so sorry, you guys. That was so loud.
Was a shot heard around the world?
I was typing.
You see, all Kamala Harris needed to do was get younger people to vote at the same margins that Joe Biden got them to vote back in 2020. Did you know
All right, I got it pulled up. The rule, let's see. Nope. Nope, it doesn't say it here. Come on, man. All right, I might have to, let me go here. No, I'm not going to go there. Okay, let's go here. What? Man, no, I'm not going to. Okay, I'm not doing that right now. I don't have my login connected to Instagram on my computer, and it's wanting to reroute me to Instagram. All of the. Let's see, Charlie Kirk text thread. Okay, this one's on X. I can go to X. Let's see. If they ever confess. Ow, dang it. on September 21st, 11 days after. Okay, yeah, but it's not saying. Oh, here we go. Let's see. 6/7/20. No, that's old. What? No. 7/5/2025 is one. So, like July, August is around when she sent it, and it would make sense after. Yeah, after it was after this event. Right here. Hold on, let me go here because this is the Student Action Summit, which was 7/11/25 with Tucker Carlson. And let me go to the Tucker Carlson portion because this is where he's backstage with Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, and he tells Tucker Carlson to go Max. Let me get to Tucker Carlson's part. Hold on. I gotta see. Where's Tucker? Oh my goodness. All the wrong people. Oh, he's probably going to be dead last, right? He's the headliner. Okay, here's the interview with Megyn Kelly. Here we go. All right, let's go here. Oh, I got to do the beginning. All right. So it would have been just after this event, and this event was 7/11/25. Wait, is that when it aired or when it was filmed? It was streamed live on July 11th. Yeah, so it was streamed live. So I'm guessing it was in the weeks that just followed this because she references this event letting Tucker on. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let me mute this part as Tucker comes out. Because my little thing is too fat. Oh, wait, I can scoot a little bit further ahead to where Tucker comes on. He's about to come on. All right, just.
Job is to protect, which is your absolute right to say what you think is true, period. And to me, that is liberation. It's the freedom to say what's obviously true as a free man and not a slave.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tucker Carlson!
Sorry for the one.
Oh my God!
Wait till the music goes off.
I never miss a Charlie Kirk event because I love Charlie Kirk and I know Charlie Kirk very well. But I always forget what the walkout is like, and I feel like I'm going to have a seizure. It's like free. Anyway, thank you so much for having me. This is more people in one place than I've seen since the last Charlie Kirk event I was at. So
I just saw that. Wondering if she sent it before the July 18th, which is when UVU requested. Yeah, on July 18th. Just saying. That's a good date to look up. So this Student Action Summit was on July 11th. So I'll look into this right now. Did Lori Cardozo Moore. Can someone on their own right now, if you can find those text messages and see if it's got the date at the top of them? Yeah, did Lori Cardozo Moore send those texts to CK between 7/11 and 7/18 when UVU event scheduled. All right. All right. Let's continue.
Hilarious. So I noticed everyone's been talking about Epstein tonight, and I want to kind of differ from the crowd a little bit in saying that I watched Ben Shapiro yesterday.
Okay, so if all of them at the Student Action Summit at Charlie Kirk event, everyone was talking about Epstein. Oh no, I just said his name. Jeffy Epi. That's what I meant. Then and Charlie was going max on that, and so was many others. And that pulled into question people in France and people in Philly and people here in leadership.
And now, before you boo me, I thought he made a really solid point. He's like, it happened a long time ago. Who cares? And by the way, we should trust the government and whatever the bureaucrats tell us. And by the way, it's wrong to ask a lot of unauthorized questions. So I just want to go on the record to say that, no, to say I think that's absurd. And it's
Yeah, Charlie was being sarcastic, okay?
exactly the kind of thinking that I personally voted against in the last election. In the last election, I spent a lot of the month of October campaigning with and for the president. I voted for the president. I never vote for anybody generally. I know they're always telling you, you must vote or you can't have an opinion. Oh, shut up. I don't like to vote, but I did vote this time. And I don't like to vote because I don't believe in any of them. And this time I really felt like I know Trump well. I love Trump personally. And what we were looking at was just so awful and totalitarian.
Yeah, she was ranting on, let's see. Let me go to my X login. Hold on. Well, let me hit play so you guys can listen to this while I look it up.
And stupid. And it wasn't even the arguments that I disagreed with from the Kamala Harris. It's weird to even say her name now. Who was that exactly? It was like a bad dream. But it wasn't even so much the arguments I disagreed with, though I definitely disagreed with the arguments. It was the style of argument that drove me completely bonkers, summarized most crisply by shut up racist. Whatever you said, it was shut up racist. And it's like, but wait, first of all, I'm not a racist, but that's not even the point. The point is, I just told you what I think. I just asked you an entirely legitimate question, mostly, what the hell are you doing? And rather than answer it, you didn't pay me the respect that you would a human being. You treated me like a slave or an animal by telling me to stop barking. Shut up, racist. And I won't put up with that because I'm not a slave or an animal. I'm an American citizen, an adult man who pays his taxes. So, I ask people questions for a living, and very often I get answers that I don't care for, that I disagree with, that I think are stupid, but at least they're answers.
All right, let me go here. Let me make sure my stream doesn't get messed. All right, let's go here. Hold on.
Voice and his mocking voice and his crossing.
Let's see. Can we see any dates on here? No, I don't. And does this show if it's on Instagram? I don't know what this symbol is down here. I don't know what that symbol is. What's PJNTV? All right, let's listen.
With his mocking voice and his mocking laughter, they were horrified by what they saw. I had 3 couples reach out to me who had been to the Turning Point USA conference. And this was in Tampa a couple of weeks.
All right, that is the Student Action Summit. It was in Tampa on July 11th. So this post, she said a couple weeks ago. Okay.
Ago. They called me and said they were horrified by what they saw. Horrified. They saw Tucker Carlson get up and act like another crazy person, condemning Israel, praising Qatar with his mocking voice and his mocking laughter. So Tucker gets up and speaks at this conference in Tampa, TPUSA, and right after him comes Michelle Bachmann. Michelle has 5 minutes to make an argument for why we have to stand with Israel to these young people at TUSA. When she starts talking in that conference about supporting Israel and why America should stand with Israel, the people in the audience start booing her. I spoke with her personally. She said 10% in the room got up and walked out on her. That is shameful. Then Charlie Kirk, this is his event. He's responsible for what people are saying and doing.
That's not how it works, lady. Gosh.
Does he get up and condemn Tucker or correct Tucker for what he said about Israel and how dangerous Qatar is to us? No. Did Charlie get up and defend Michelle Bachmann? Did he condemn the people that got up and walked out on her, that booed her? Did he say why we stand with Israel, we support Israel? No, he didn't. That tells us everything we need to know.
So disgusting, this chick, man. This is a post of hers on X. Yeah, bear false witness. This is what she says in her text to Charlie. A lot of this isn't to Charlie, but a lot of the wording is the same in the text that she ends up sending to Charlie Kirk. You know, and then this dash G-O-D, the way she spells it there. Let me go back here because I want to let's hop to the end. Let's see where he ends and then Michelle Bachmann comes on. Did they cut it out? It's not even on here. What? Let's see. Is this TPUSA's? No, Right Side Broadcasting. All right, let me hit play and then let me see if I could find that part where Michelle Bachmann comes on.
At least the person responding is treating me like a human being with a soul created in the image of the Creator. He's paying me the respect that every human being is due. When you ask a direct question to someone in charge, you are due. That person is morally bound to give you an answer. He's not bound to agree with you, but he's bound to stop and answer your question. And the left never did that. They would dismiss you out of hand. You are not worth listening to. Be quiet. And that's, of course, where the impulse to censorship comes from. It comes from the belief that you don't deserve to speak because you're not fully human. They own you. And that's what I voted against above all. I mean, I voted against a million different things that I hated about the last administration. Their insane desire to start pointless wars around the world. Their total unwillingness to protect this country domestically, to protect the people who live here, to protect the territorial integrity of the country, bringing in tens of millions of people illegally, giving them free stuff the second they get here, making a mockery of citizenship. I hated all of that. I hated all of that. But the thing I hated most was their total unwillingness to answer any question about why they were doing what they were doing, because it was just too insulting. And every single time I would just feel like raising the middle finger and screaming obscenities, which is not an adult response, I'll concede, but that's how I felt. And I think that's really at the heart of why the Epstein thing is so distressing. I mean, the guy was some weird sex freak who was abusing girls.
Can you guys find the Michelle Bachmann speech? It's only 5 minutes and she gets booed off on here and email it to me. I can't find it. I think they scrubbed it, man. Yeah. And I literally typed in Student Action Summit, July 2025, Michelle Bachmann. But of course, they did not want that. Let's see. Tucker Carlson's full speech. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's his full speech. What about hers? Let's see if it's at the end of this one. I don't think it's going to be that. Hold on. At least this one has the students asking questions, but let's see. Nope. Just Tucker. That's interesting. Live replay. TPUSA Summit. Okay. 10 months ago. All right, hold on. So this might be it. All right, let's see who's the. No. Hold on, I'm looking it up. It was a multi-day event, so no, that's not her. Nope, that's not her either. Dang. No. Dang, man. All right, let's go here.
Erupt on these college campuses many times. And something's happening, though, with this whole debate that is really bothering me. And I wonder if you're feeling it too. So I mean, I genuinely believe you'd be hard pressed to find somebody in the public eye who's been as outspoken a defender of not every move Israel's taken in the war, but of Israel's right to defend itself and of the just backward awfulness that we've been seeing on college campuses and the backlash against American Jews than yours truly. I mean, I have been at the pointy end of the spear on this, and
I completely agree with that.
And it was all heartfelt, and it remains heartfelt.
Yes.
However, my contention here is that some in the pro-Israel camp are so knee-jerk about calling you anti-Semitic or getting deeply offended if you say anything that doesn't align with their narrative, that it undermines their own cause. And I have to tell you, I find it very irritating because I do feel like some of us have earned the right to have some credibility on the subject of Israel and don't want to be called those names when we have some mild pushback on some of the overreaches, whether it's, whether they're winning or losing the propaganda war right now. And my contention is they've begun to lose it. And I realize it's propaganda coming at us from Hamas, but their numbers have turned here in America. They've turned, not so much with Republicans, a little bit with Republicans, but completely with the Democrat Party and with independents. They have shifted mightily from at least double digits highs to single digit lows now with when it comes to approval. And also with respect to, you and I speculated about this at the Turning Point event, whether the possibility of Jeffrey Epstein possibly being a Mossad agent or asset or affiliated with, that's been turned around on me too, to you must be anti-Semitic. What the hell? That's such bullshit. The same people who say you can criticize Israel, that's fine. We won't call you anti-Semitic if you criticize Israel. Now turn around immediately and say you're anti-Semitic for even raising that. I completely reject that. And I raise this as a pushback against my friends on that particular strain of the aisle to watch it, because you don't want to alienate people who are openly your friends by going nuts in your crackdowns on mild pushback on anything related to Israel. Now you take it.
I'm so glad you brought this up, and I would second that, Megan. I think I have a bulletproof resume showing my defense of Israel, both on campus, on social media, to great, let's just say mockery and scorn at times, because I believe it. Right. I believe in the scriptural land rights given to Israel. I believe in fulfillment of prophecy. And again, I'm not a theologian, but I'm a Christian. My life was changed in Israel. The spiritual energy is so amazing there. I want them to win. I've said that repeatedly.
Same.
And however, Megan, you're hitting on something very potent and important. Now, let me first say, I don't want to judge an entire group, because there's been many people in the pro-Israel world that have been very sweet, very kind, very nuanced, very Charlie, you're with us. You don't have to agree all the time. However, and I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. Yep. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat.
I didn't see this until just now. Sorry, Brett. Oh, what up, Brett? Hey, Matt. Got a split, but I sent you an email about a conference in Boise in May 2025 that belongs on your timeline with Victor Marks and some TPUSA creeps. Let me see. Yes, you did. All right. I will add that in my timeline 100%. Okay, and then I got another one. Yeah, I got to read these after. Oh, and then okay, I'll pull these up. Thank you, Larissa. Sorry. Let me get back to this. So many things going on.
I honor the Shabbat, literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, why are you? What am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like, some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been
almost
so
as if
unfair. They were coming after you after a turning point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions.
Yeah. All right, let me see. I got... hold on. All right. Let's see. Let me go to my email. Hold on. All right. Oh, I should have tagged you, Larissa. Hold on. How can I do that? Let's see. Hold on one second. I'm doing... All right, that's where I'll start. I'll just leave it at that. All right, let me pull up my email. Let's go here. Here. I think
so this is, you're saying, while many are focusing on the protests, for example, or the anti-Semitism, which is more the radical left or the radical Islam, of course, you're saying that this radical right,
okay, and this is Laura Cardozo Moore on TV, July 2025. Okay.
Woke right is dangerous.
Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, look at the things that they are saying. There's even people have started to raise concern about Charlie Kirk. He's made some isolationist comments.
You literally are the one, Lori. Bro. Oh my gosh, these people. Oh, look at what network she's on. Philadelphia National News. This should say proclaiming justice to the nations for Philly.
It's about, supporting Israel as well.
I bet.
We have to be very careful.
Oh.
We cannot tolerate, as American citizens, even within the Republican, the Conservative Party, we can't tolerate these people. We've seen what's happened with the Democrat Party position.
So this is, you're saying, while many are focusing on the protests, for example, or the anti-Semitism, which is more the radical left or the radical Islam, of course, you're saying that this radical right, this woke right, is dangerous?
Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, look at the things that they are saying. There's even people have started to raise concern about Charlie Kirk. He's made...
Oh, okay. I was like, she's repeating herself. I think she has dementia. Nope, it's on a short loop. All right, let me write down these timestamps for this next video. 59, 19, 109, 52. All right, let's do this. Mystic, thank you so much for what you do. Let me go share. Ba-ba-bang. Ba-bam-bam. Ba-bam-bam. All right, exit out of that. Is that on the screen? It is. All right, cool. Now I need to go to 5919. Sorry for the noise. Hold on.
Good afternoon. So good to see you. My name is Michelle Bachmann. I'm a former member of the United States Congress. So thrilled to be with you here at Charlie Kirk's event. You are the ones that I have been waiting for to show up, to move our...
Oh my gosh, Michelle, stop screaming. You have a mic in your hand. You're the only one I've had to turn down this whole time. Goodness gracious, media training, okay? Someone help her with some media training.
country forward into a path of victory. You are the ones that are going to deliver. I am so proud of you. I'm here also as the Dean of the Robertson School of Government, C.R. Booth, but I'm here to speak to you right now as a board member of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. We're an
That's where it is. Ba-ba-ba. She's going to get booed.
Organization that's over 40 years old, and it's one of the most positive, unifying organizations that there is to support relationships between Christians and Jews. There's something amazing that happens when you bring unity between two biblically based forces, Christians and Jews. We've seen miracles come from these relationships, and today the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is the #1 humanitarian relief organization throughout Israel, and going into places like Syria where there's needs and binding up the wounds and bringing health care to people who have problems in those areas.
I love you guys. It was the 60s called. They'd like their curtains back. Yes, I agree. It looks like you know what you guys, hold on. No, she looks like she's a member of the Von Trapp family. And they, from Sound of Music, where she literally cuts the curtains down and makes the picnic clothes for the Von Trapp kids. That's what she looks like. Introducing the only surviving member of the Von Trapp family choir, Michelle Bachmann.
It's been a tremendous organization. And when you look at the United States and Israel, we've had an incredible relationship. The United States was the first nation to recognize the existence of Israel after Israel declared independence. It was a Democrat president.
Wait, is it through? Is it 59-2-109? Let me look at that email real quick. Or is it two separate timestamps? Let me look at your email. Through. Okay, cool.
President that made that recognition 11 minutes after Israel made that announcement.
Oh, can a couple, whoever's here, email me a couple end of the show Charlie Kirk clips. Glenn usually does it. She's not here right now.
We're also the first nation.
Oh, and my wife does it too. And Mystic and others have done it. Bree, other. Okay, but send it.
That recognized Jerusalem as Israel's eternal capital. That was Donald Trump that made that designation. Both of those designations ended up bringing peace into the world. We were told.
Yeah, right, dude. Peace. Okay, Michelle. I'm waiting for you to get booed.
Would bring war. It did just the opposite. When you have a sane country like the United States working with a sane country like Israel, you've got.
Is that really how you would describe the United States and the ruling elite in America? Is sane? Nope. Clinically insane, and same with Philly. So that means you're an insane person calling insane people sane. So your judgment is wicked suspect, Michelle. I mean, I guess when you walked out in curtains, we should have known everything that followed was, like one flew over the cuckoo's nest, man.
A community of the sane. And it is
Whoa. Is that ribbon on her shirt a pro-Philly ribbon?
important that we work together. Just this week, there was an agreement that the United States signed with Israel on tech and...
I bet it is. I bet it's a pro-Philadelphian ribbon. We stand with Philly kind of thing,
innovation. The two top countries in the world on tech and innovation and AI are the United States and Israel.
Yeah, because Philly steals all of our stuff, dude. Come on. Oh, I should have known it was on Rumble. Yeah. Yeah.
We signed a pact that is going to benefit you, that's going to change your world for the future.
Oh, like the data centers that are going in? Okay. Oh, like all the propaganda with the FAR filings, the Show Faith by Works and the Clock Tower X and the mass surveillance network that they're rolling out? Okay, Michelle. Oh, but we should trust you. No, I'm sorry. You also look like you're part of the Brady Bunch. You belong on that wall that's like a Connect 4, but it's like, I can just see you popping up in there. You kind of remind me of the cleaning lady from the Brady Bunch. You have more hair, but you do remind me of her. Do you guys remember her name? What's the cleaning lady name? The nanny, the help in the family, the Brady Bunch.
Future and bring strength and prosperity and peace into both of our nations. There's a huge controversy right now about Israel, that Israel's bad. And so what we've been trying to do is bring some unity and some clarity into that issue. So last year, a program was developed by the Fellowship of Christians and Jews to have campuses which have become anti-Israel actually take a stand for Israel, because that anti-Israel thinking has turned into violence. And so on the campus at Regent University last year, we put up flags, and we're calling it Fellowship of Flags. And so American flags, United States flags, we put it up and made a showing on...
It was Alice. Yes. Alice was nice. I liked Alice, though. I'm not digging on Alice. She just reminded me of her, all right.
On our campus, that we're going to stand for this sane country of Israel.
Oh my God.
And why is it that we're seeing an unprecedented level of anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, Jewish hatred here in the United States? A report was just released not long ago. It was published in the Free Press, Barry Weiss's publication.
Is she serious? Oh, Barry Weiss said it. Oh, Barry Weiss's publication. Trust us. Oh my goodness. Holy smokes. Oh my goodness. Man, does she not know? They're so out of touch with like all of us. She thought in her little pea brain saying Barry Weiss in her publication was going to be some sort of vote of confidence and some sort of like, no, totally the opposite, my lady.
And it said this: there are nations in the world who are bad actors, who are evil, who have evil motivations. And yes, those countries, including Iran and Qatar, for 46 years, Iran has been designated the #1 terror nation promoting terror in the world for 46 years. We know.
What do you bet they made? So the donors, what do you bet the TPUSA donors made Charlie put her after Tucker? What do you bet, you guys? What do you bet? What do you bet that they were like, okay, fine, you're going to have Tucker on? Well, we get to decide who goes on after her. And we write her speech. So, I mean, You want to play fair? That's how we play fair. So we're going to have Michelle Bachmann on, and she's going to read literally a letter from Bibi, words from the Foreign Ministry of Philly on behalf of Philly. What do you bet?
This from America, Americans were taken hostage. And yes, contrary to what was stated, Iran has killed Americans, many Americans. They are a threat to the United States of America.
Are they as much of a threat to us as Philly is, who's literally taken out so many more, or at least sent us to die? So many more of us. My lady, you are so misinformed, or just really evil that you could get up there and say these facts or say these lies as if they're facts with a straight face. It's crazy. Are you related to Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz?
America. But Qatar, as Iran has done this, Qatar is the leading state financer of terrorism, and you're their target. You may not know this, but Qatar has spent close to $100 billion to target.
Okay, so I get why people walked out. I haven't heard anyone boo yet, but the booing probably is on its way. But I get why. Like, if they just sat through Truth with Tucker for however long he just spoke, and then this doo-doo bird gets up here, this dodo bird, and she's like, oh, Philly is the best, and blah, blah, blah. Qatar's evil, and Iran is evil. Bro, I would have walked out too. I would have thrown a tomato in her face and walked out. We should bring back tomato throwing at these events.
Target you with an anti-Israel viewpoint. How did they do that?
Oh my goodness.
They brought professors, curriculum. They're in K-12 schools. They're in higher education. They're in media. They're in the culture. $100 billion.
No, like literally, she's literally telling us everything Philly has done through, like, Maxwell, Ghislaine's dad, Jeffy Eppie, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, our education system, our books that are bought and written and owned by them, right? The Schofield Bible that was written and by them to make it more pro-Zionists, the propaganda, like literally what she's saying Qatar and Iran do is like everything Philly does.
Dollars buys a lot of message. Qatar is 330,000 people. America's 330 million people. Qatar's nation, their population is the size of Pittsburgh. But
why would we be scared of them, my lady? Why would we be scared of them? Thing is, we're not. They've never done anything to us. Philly has. Yep.
They're extremely wealthy. They control about 11% of oil and gas interests, and they use that money because their goal is to have Islam dominate the earth. They have the largest propaganda outlet in the world, Al Jazeera. And so they put their money where their mouth is. We need to understand the intention of the enemy and what they choose to do. But what I love about Charlie is he's a biblical guy. And a lot of you here are biblical people. And one of the most profound, clarifying concepts in the Bible is that it's God who chose the Jewish people. He chose them. It wasn't the Jewish people's choice. God chose them. They were going to be his people.
All right, we're almost to the end of her little segment. Will you guys do me a favor and just hit the like if you haven't done so already? Thank you. And then we're going to get to a couple clips of Charlie.
And he chose the land they would be on. And the Bible says forever, this is their land. He deeded it to them, no one else. And so the Bible is very clear. And I'll end with this. Those who bless Israel will be blessed. Those who curse Israel will be cursed. And we need to understand that's true for.
Did you guys hear that one person clapping? That was Ben or Josh in the crowd. Oh my gosh, this lady is so just Just out of touch.
Individuals, that's true for nations. And so I encourage you on your college campus, come to the International Fellowship of Christians and
Oh
Jews
my
booth,
goodness.
pick up American flag, Israeli flag, be proud of them, bless Israel, and you too will be blessed. God bless you all, and I'm grateful to be here today.
I didn't hear anyone boo her. Did you guys hear her get booed off stage? I didn't hear that at all. I mean, there might have been like a couple people here and there booing her, but I mean, not like the way Lori Cordoza Moore made it sound, you know, and that how dare Charlie let that happen? Like, she spoke for the full time. Like, she took up her time, she spoke, and she was pro Philly the whole time, and a couple people clapped and a couple people whistled, probably the same exact two people, but I mean, it didn't seem like probably people walked out. Yeah, I bet. I would have walked out. I mean, give me a break, lady. All right, let's go here. Oh, we've seen this one, but it's cute. I'm always down for this.
Sir
Why won't it let me make it big? Oh, there we go.
Isaac Newton fell asleep underneath a tree. And then an apple hit him. Kind of like this. So then he came up with
So that's what's crazy, right? So they want us. So some people want us to believe that this whole thing, and every time he was ever with his kids, and that was Erica's hand. You could see her fingers and her nails and her rings, and like, you know, Gigi's an actress, and when Matt comes along, he's a paid actor. Like, give me a break. Like, what is it with people believing the most crazy things?
3 laws. Okay, see, that's the issue. Is you keep on thinking when you drop it, it comes back up, but it doesn't. Okay. The 3 laws of Newtonian physics. You're going to be quizzed on this later, you know. An object at rest will stay at rest. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. For example, if I push it, it goes. And finally, force equals mass times acceleration. Any questions?
Oh my gosh. Having fun with a toddler. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, let's go here. There it is.
Taught people for free and healed people for free. Why don't we do the same?
Churches should.
Churches should? Okay. But why can't we do that on a more systemic level through government programs? Hey, maybe private companies with all of their record profits. Why hasn't Elon put up some of his own private money to help end homelessness?
Because homelessness is not a money problem. Almost every single one of them has either mental problems or drug disorders. It is not a matter of lack of capital. It's that they should either be in an asylum or they're doing hard drugs and they don't want to stop.
Yeah.
We have homelessness.
Asylums that Ronald Reagan defunded. The asylums that Ronald Reagan.
Yes, if we want to talk about bringing back asylums, I'm all for that.
Oh, that ended quickly. Let me go to the next one. All righty.
Shut down this student instantly when she tried to corner him with the word of God. Fueled by emotion, she refused to even hear what Charlie had to say, so he flipped the debate, and her reaction was unbelievable.
They're on their table. So all I'm arguing here today, again, my final question before I get off is just, do you think that you are upholding your Christian values by not holding the government accountable when the government is the easiest way to get food to people?
No, I actually don't think it's the easiest way. I think that private charity, individuals helping individuals, is the best way to offer
help. But is
help.
that working enough right now? Or should we have a system to give free lunches to kids?
We do. That problem is you're actually living in the big government era, and it's not working. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars on your desired objective. We have food stamps. We have school-supported lunches. We have taught
how widespread are those school supported
very
lunches?
incredibly.
Can you give me the statistics? Because because I know that growing up in the state of Idaho, I never once had a free school lunch unless neither did anybody I know unless it was during COVID.
I will say something controversial, and I actually don't think it's the role of the state to feed a kid at school. It's the role of the parents to feed those kids.
Oh, real quick. So, got a little research on the whole Michelle Bachmann booing thing. Let's see. Was Michelle Bachmann booed off stage at the July 2025 Student Action Summit, like Lori Cardozo Moore insinuates? No, Michelle Bachmann was not booed off stage. The claim exaggerates what happened at the Turning Point USA event at the Student Action Summit. Bachmann spoke on behalf of the International Fellowship of Christians and the IFCJ, right? Yeah, so contemporary reports note that some audience members booed, right, during parts of her speech, particularly the strong pro-Philadelphian points and or the anti-Semitism points, and a portion of the hall described in one account as around 10% in related commentary emptied out or left as she spoke. However, she completed her remarks without being removed or forced to stop. Fox News coverage described her speech positively, with no mention of disruption. So, yeah. A real-time ex-post from the event captured the booing by some attendees. This aligns with Inside Higher Ed observation of people leaving during her anti-Semitic discussion. But, yeah. Yeah, so no. It's more accurate to say that there was noticeable but limited pushback in a mostly conservative audience, after which she finished speaking. Oh, Lori. Nobody likes you. What up, Jay? Jay, did you message me for mañana? Let me see. All right, well, I'll message you. And we'll get it penciled in for tomorrow. Not you. This is somebody else on X. Holy smokes. You guys, we don't always have to agree on everything, you know? Like I arrive at my own conclusions with my own brain. All right. And everyone is entitled to arrive at their own as well. All right, let me see. Was that the? Oh no, I didn't finish. All right, let me finish.
Okay.
And and you might say, oh, if the parents don't have money, the parents I think have to get more and more involved to taking care of your kids. And the more the state grows into that realm, the smaller it actually makes the American family. Final point.
Okay, one quick follow-up on that. I think that specifically parents are often struggling. They often give up their own meals to give to their kids. But hang on, let's move up to this.
That's a beautiful thing. It is.
Okay, exactly. Now let's move, but they shouldn't have to. They should also be able to get food themselves. I think that the key argument here is that they need to be able, because the government has so many resources to provide food for people. And I think that if you are up here and that your religious values, I know that you're against gay marriage and often that's by your religious values. So I would say that specifically when we look towards issues like that, if we're going to have some religious governance, you have to do what the Bible says over 2,000 times and provide food to the needy and help heal the needy.
Yes, and we do. And what I'm saying, though, is that it has been proven to really not work very well. Yeah. The best way to help the needy.
Then do you not think it's the Christian duty then to find everything we absolutely can do to help them?
Yes, and we know how to do it, and that is the local church helping them.
Okay, perfect. So
yeah, so to respond to this one, are you saying that it's cold that Charlie was against free school lunch? No, that's not cold at all. Number one, do you know how bad the food is that they give out in free school lunches? Like, it is so bad for the kids, number one. Number two, he believed in limited government, right? And that a lot of these, when we put into like law or whatever it does that allocates funding to free school lunch for kids that can qualify, the majority of the money doesn't even go to that. Okay, it goes to the bureaucracy and the bureaucrats that run the school lunch program. Okay, and number two, well, number one, it's bad food. It's really bad for the kids. Number two, most of the money doesn't even go to the food, which goes to the kids. Okay, It goes to the bureaucracy or the bureaucrats that oversee it. And number 3, he believed that the church's responsibility and everything biblically that the Bible says for us to do, it's not talking about a government. It's talking to Christians and to the church. And so to try to apply the scriptures of what we're called as Christians and as the church to do and say that the United States government should do is just completely off base. It's not cold. Yeah, local churches should do more. Yeah, and we have enough mega churches that are nonprofit, tax-free, where some of these people are making millions of dollars and have millions of dollars in real estate and in planes. Yeah, so many of the churches around the world, around the United States, could literally do so much more to end local hunger, local homelessness, local families and children in need. And it's not the United States government's responsibility to do so. Okay.
And do you think that also then comes from government ordinances and government support and tax cuts for the churches?
Well, first of all, churches don't pay taxes.
Well, that's what I meant. Like, no longer adding taxes, because I've seen those things that people want to add taxes to churches.
We shouldn't. No, they're tax exempt organizations. But again, our view as Christians and conservatives is the government doesn't do it well. The government operates by force, and the local Christian nonprofit, the local Christian church, or whatever, it does a much better job of delivering help to those in need than a big government. Thank you for your time, though. Appreciate it.
You are contradicting yourself currently right there, because the government, if it's one religious way, you have to have all religious governance.
It's not one religious way. We have so many different religions here in the United States, you know? All right. Let's see. The Yapper, where? Oh, did he have to take off? Is he going to do his live right now? Well, those of you that don't know, let me see. Let's see if he's got one scheduled for after this. Hold on. Jay the Yapper. All right, let's see. For those of you that don't know who Jay is, let's see. This is Jay the Yapper. Super good dude. Good Christian guy. Let's see. So this is his channel. Head over to his channel and give him a subscribe. Click on his shows. He doesn't have one scheduled for tonight. Maybe he has tonight off, unless he does one and he doesn't have it scheduled yet. But as long as everything still works out, we're going to be doing a live together tomorrow. So hopefully it all works out and everything, works out. That'd be great. What up, dude? Oh, Wednesdays are cardio nights. That's right. I remembered you said that last night on your live. Wednesdays are cardio nights. Let's see. Hold on. Wednesdays are cardio nights, brother. I'm asleep. You're asleep? No worries, dude. All right. I sent you a message on X and we can nail down the time and stuff for tomorrow, man. Hopefully you get some good sleep tonight and rest up. I hit the gym hard today too. It is way later your time. You are East Coast. It's 9:44 here. That makes it 11 or 12:44 your time, depending on where you are. I think you're in Tennessee or St. Louis. Something like that, right? Let's see. Wait, Zebra Z. It's his cardio day. She called it. She said it before, but she's like, not that I stalk him, just saying, I know you were there last night. I saw you there last night. A lot of us were there last night. He literally said it last night that Wednesday was his cardio day. So he wasn't doing it live. Yep. Yeah, everyone here, let me throw this up on here too. Subscribe to Jay the Yapper on YouTube. Here's his link. And I also just showed his page. Super awesome dude. Okay. Good friend of the community, good friend of the show, good person all around. Okay. Let's 12:44 here. Yep. Had a feeling. Well, Elizabeth Hurley, what up? Is Elizabeth Lucas Moore here too? Or did I see that earlier? Oh, it's Elizabeth. I think Elizabeth Lucas Moore was here maybe way earlier. Or has it been you the whole time, Elizabeth Hurley? Let's see. Oh my gosh, Elizabeth Hurley. It's been you the whole time. Yeah, it's been you the whole time. Sorry. Let's see. J Yap is a fire. He is fire, dude. All right. Wait, what does this mean? NCLT. What does that mean? Central living time? No. I don't. What does CLT stand for? Somebody help me out. Matt, yes, the food is bad and that needs to be fixed. Yeah, the church will deliver food to schools. Yeah. Yeah, should, at least should. Stupid autocorrect. What does CLT stand for? Charlotte. Okay. There you go. Charlotte. All right. All right. Well, all right. If you guys haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe. All right. It's how you can help support the channel. You can also support the channel and donate here at the Black Line Brief Venmo here. Or you could do it at buymeacoffee.com/the Black Line Brief. Just please, when you do so, you just put like a note in there. It allows you to write what you want. Like for Venmo, you could put like a memo. On Buy Me a Coffee, it actually lets you like write a message as well. And you can say what you wanted to go to. Who was it? It was Dog and Cat Parent donated money for me to take my wife out to dinner. And that was a super nice blessing, which we did. No one has to do that. But if you want to donate or support the channel, you can do it in either place. Just write what you would like your support or donation to go to. And that's what it'll go to. All right. So yeah, stay tuned for the rest of the week. Tomorrow night will hopefully be Jay the Yapper. If not, then, you know, I'll let you guys know what else is going on tomorrow. But either way, I'll be here tomorrow. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be with Jay. So that'll be good. Love you guys. God bless you guys. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. Have a good night. God bless. Bye.